Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with CircWorks, and this is Pro versus Con, Pro Tips for Conventions, where I share with you my knowledge and things that I've learned about exhibiting at pop culture events, whether it's comic conventions, anime cons, or the like. And speaking of tips, I've got some tips for you. I've got 10 of them, in fact. Tips on pricing and selling your artwork. And if you've been watching these series of episodes I've been doing before, you'll know that I touched a little on selling before, but that was more like how to engage an audience, how to talk to people once people are interested, how to actually pitch your products and things like that. This is a little different. This is specifically, how do you price things? What's the best way to price things? Selling comes into that in some way, shape, or form, and I'll touch on that as well. But so yeah, we've got 10 tips for you, so let's get to it. Okay, tip number 1, consider your production cost. Anything that you produce is likely to cost you money in addition to just your time. Even if it's like an original sketch, I mean, there's art supplies and things like that. But for instance, probably the most common things you see at shows are prints. And prints cost money, not only to have them printed, but, well, for instance, if you do all your printing at home, you think, well, I'm not, maybe I'm saving money, but remember that these things here, ink cartridges, they cost money and they add up, and it really is kind of a racket. That's why you can get printers for practically cheap. They're making all their money off of these things, and there's like little devious things that they do to get you on these. Like, for instance, it'll say you're running out of ink when there's still like half the amount of ink left in here. And there's ways online that you can get the most out of your ink. That's not really what this is about. But these things do cost money, and a lot of times you think you're saving money by printing at home, and you're not always saving money. Sometimes it's cheaper to outsource it and everything. So keep track of stuff like this, printing, the cost of your paper. Photo paper can get expensive and everything. I actually don't do a lot of printing at home. I sub most of my stuff out. I think I save some money that way. Now, again, there are ways you can get the most out of your ink, and if you're really, if you're really good at that and real savvy, then maybe it does pay to print your stuff at home. But that's for you to figure out. And so yeah, we're just talking prints now. I mean, there's all kinds of other products we can get into, but as far as prints go, if you do sub stuff out, or if you do have, say, print online, you want to consider your shipping as well. What does it cost to ship? Add that into the cost of your print, because it's not just what you're paying for the print. If you're not getting free shipping, which usually isn't the case, then you got to add that to it also. If you aren't printing online, but you're going out, or if you're going to a printer, say if you have to drive to pick it up, if it's a ways, consider your gas, all those little things. So, and like I said, that's just prints. We can get into, I mean, there's, if you're doing plushies or whatever, your fabric, your thread, all that type of thing, you want to keep track of, because all that stuff will add up, and you want to make sure that your bases are covered and that you're not spending more than you're making. So definitely want to consider those production costs, and it's not really just the cost of production. You want to consider the amount of time you're putting into something. Think of it as a job, the hours you're putting in. What are you really getting paid? How long did this take? And what are you able to sell those for? And of course, that will grow with the more of these things you sell, but you do want to consider your time. In addition to just the products themselves, you want to factor in what the show costs for you. So if you go to a convention, it's not just your table costs. A lot of people say, oh, I made my table back, or I've always made my table back, or it's all comparing what that table cost you. But there are other charges in there too that some people might not even be considering. For instance, most bigger cons that you're exhibiting at, you're going to have to pay not registration fees, but for like taxes and things like that. So for the city and state, they're going to want, it differs from wherever state you're on out here. For me in Arizona, I think the state or the city charges like $25 or something. The state, I think, might be a little less than that. But add that stuff in, and that's not even the taxes that you're paying on top of once you sell something. You've got to pay back. So yeah, that is one thing you definitely want to consider, because all these little things add up. If you're driving there, if you have to pay for parking, consider your parking. And if you're set up like a business, also remember you want to write all this stuff off too. We're not going to talk about that because that gets into taxes, and I don't really want to talk about taxes. So parking, if you are coming from out of state, your hotel, your travel, whether you're flying in or you're driving, your gas, just whatever your travel is, your food, if how much you're spending for meals and things, you want to consider all that, So, and that also can kind of determine, especially when you're first starting out, what kind of shows you do. I don't do a lot of out-of-state shows, just because all those costs are built in. And when I do, the ones I'm planning on doing are in places usually where I have friends that I can stay with, which will save some on like hotel and lodging and things like that. But just anything that you're paying that you normally wouldn't be paying for, that you want to consider. For instance, when I exhibit at a show, I've got 3 kids. They usually come with me, and they give me so many badges, but I got to get additional badges. Now that that depends. You can look at it. Well, they're just going to enjoy the show or whatever. But I try to factor those extra things in as well. So yeah, that's tip number 10. Consider your production cost. Did I say tip number 10? Wow, I'm really getting ahead of myself. That was only tip number 1. We got a ways to go. So if that was tip number 1, this is tip number 2, and that is triple your cost. So this is a general rule of thumb. Whatever it does cost to produce it, and you don't really have to factor in your time into this, but just whatever the product costs to produce, you want to at least triple it. Okay, and that should cover some of your time spent and everything and more, depending on what the price is. That doesn't go for everything. For instance, so my comic books, there's a kind of a perceived value. If you go in a comic store, they usually sell for around $4 or whatever. So I sell my comics for $4. They cost me probably a couple bucks to produce, because right now I'm doing print on demand. Now in the long run, what I want to do is I want to do a trade and everything, or if I had enough, if I had enough people interested or whatever, which I probably could have done this, but there's some upfront costs. But if you have them offset printed, you can bring that cost down quite a bit. But just for now, because everything that I'm doing with my comic is leading up to that trade, which is going to be the big thing, which I'm really going to be concentrating on. So these are just kind of stepping stones along the way that I can get people interested in the comic book. So I'm not making a ton on these. But hopefully with the other products I'm making up for that, and this is almost more of a promotion to get the comic book out there and everything. So not everything, there's not always enough wiggle room to make, to triple that cost with my comics. That's not really the case. Now, what I should have done was probably sell these for $5, even though most comics in the store sell for $4. And what I might still do if I reprint them, I might do this. But the problem was when I first did it, I put the price on here as $4. So it's kind of hard when it says $4 to charge $5, because I think with indie comics, people are willing to pay $5 because it is done by the artist and everything. Even that might be a little more than what you're paying for a Marvel or DC or whatever like that. Which is kind of what these conventions are all about. You're there meeting the artist, you're buying something from indie artists, and people are supporting you. So that's something even that I've learned that I probably should change. So if you want to get these books, get them while they're $4. But yeah, so always, at least triple. A lot of the things that I sell, especially larger items where there's more room, I'll try to make more than triple those costs. But so if something costs you like $3 to make, you want to probably at least sell that for around $10. So that is just a general rule to follow, and I think that'll help you out along the way. All right, tip number 3: have a range of price points. So what I like to do is I've got different items for different prices, starting at like $1 all the way up to $40, $50 plus dollars, just depending on what it is, and you can go higher than that too. But you want to have something just for every kind of budget. Certain people have different amount of money to spend, And if you have some smaller price items, that's great. Some people, like your stuff, they want to spend more, but you really want to just be able to offer something for any type of budget. So for instance, and these seem to be kind of general, the prices I'm charging and things like that. So you can use this as a basis. You can charge more or less or whatever. But so I usually start off, my lowest price items are usually just little buttons. I sell buttons for $1. Then I'll have like $5 items. This is, I've got postcard mini prints. Those I sell for around $5. Then I've got small prints that I sell for $10. These are, I think they're a little bigger than 8 by 10, but somewhere around that size. And then, my large prints I'll sell for $20. And that's kind of a good rule to go by. Some people sell more or less or whatever, but you do want to just be able to offer different prices for different budgets. One thing you also might want to consider is bringing along some higher priced items, like some original artwork and things. For instance, and I haven't brought this to a show, but I've considered it, but this is a pretty good example. So this is an original sort of a painting that I did, and it's using a process that I've done quite a bit, and I use for like my set building and everything. But it's actually three-dimensional if you look. But anyway, so this is a big giant piece that I could bring with me. It does take a little bit of room, but this is a higher price item that I could, charge in the hundreds for, and it may not sell, but you never know. There might be somebody that really likes something like this or wants it or think that that's perfect, and those big sales can really, really turn the tides and make a really good show for you. So if you've got things like that. And the other thing is, if you bring higher price items, that makes the lower price items seem a little more reasonable. Like, oh man, that's $300, $500. I can't afford that, but yeah, $20 print from the same artist that does this cool stuff like that. So definitely something to consider, bringing those higher price items and just having a big range of products to fit everyone's budget. Okay, tip number 4. This is a short one. This is an easy one. Round to dollar amounts. So you don't want to charge like $3.25, $3.50, $3.67 or whatever. It just gets very confusing. You don't want to have to carry a whole bunch of change with you. You don't want to have to dish out a bunch of change that the attendees and the people that purchase from you are going to have to carry. Now, granted, a kid or somebody, whoever, may come up to you and give you a bunch of change and want to buy something. That's cool. But as a general rule, you don't want to you don't want to be dealing with a lot of change. So just price everything at $1, $1, $5, $6, and just factor in kind of, what your tax is going to be, what you're going to have to pay on tax. Don't add tax to it, because then it just throws everything off and gets very confusing. So yeah, round to a dollar amount. Tip number 5 is add-ons and upsells. So what you want to try to do is you want to try to incentivize your potential customer to spend more money at your booth, and in doing so, what you are in order to do that, what you can do is offer, say, you buy 2, get 1 half off or whatever. So say if somebody buys, 2 large prints, I'll throw in another one for half off or whatever. Sets are good things. If you've got like a series, you can buy them individually, or you can save a lot on a set. But you always want to try to get people to purchase more, and that can even, somebody that maybe not is even interested in purchasing 1, but then they look, but if I get 2, then I can get this other one. You got all this stuff. You're paying a little more money, but you're seeing the value in that, and that can really help make a sale. Just a little story here. So this is a print that I did that I brought to the last comic convention. And before doing so, now it looks a little funky, as you can see, because this particular print is in 3D. Comes with 3D glasses and everything. Now, I shared this on social media, and I just got a ton of response from it. People seem to really love it. They like the idea and everything. So I thought that was going to be a good indication that I would be able to take this to a show and it would sell. So I had it displayed out there with the glasses. Try this. So you can come up, you try the glasses on, you look at the print. Everyone's digging it. Oh, this is cool, but they didn't really sell. I didn't sell any of these things. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And, this is just what I'm thinking. I think maybe the reason why is because, well, although this is a cool kind of novelty or whatever, and people seem to dig it, it doesn't really look, unless you're wearing the glasses, it doesn't really look good like hanging on a wall. I mean, it looks all right, but it's, you know, it's a little hard to tell because it's meant to be in 3D. So I think one of the things I'm going to do at the next convention is offer this just as an add-on. You know, an exclusive add-on. Maybe you won't even be able to purchase this by itself. I don't know. I'm still working these things out, but these are the kind of things you want to think about. So if you purchase, say 2 of these, 20 bucks each, $40 for an extra $5. I mean, and that seems like a value here because it cost me, you know, maybe $5 for this. It cost me some for the glasses too as well, but you know, for around whatever $5 if I sell this as an add-on, I'm covering the cost of this, and it's helping me to sell more prints. So that's something you want to think about is add-ons in order to get people to purchase more at your booth. It's really something I neglected for the most part, but yeah, a lot of other people doing it is selling a lot now. And I noticed that the last show I was at, prints didn't sell that much, and I think there's just some tweaking to do and stuff to get those prints moving as much as some of the other products. So add-ons and upsells, and it doesn't even have to be anything big, you know, like another full-size print. A lot of times, you know, you buy a print, say pick out a button or whatever, something small like that. Even something like that, people are excited, and usually I don't say it up front. Usually if they purchase a print, I'll say go ahead and pick a button out, and it's just like an extra thing. People like to get additional things. So the little add-ons, even if you don't even mention it at the end, you throw something in, and I think that helps, and that might help build return customers and things like that. But you can go to like Vistaprint and have like small, you know, either postcard size or 8x10s, print a whole bunch up of just one particular print, and you don't have to worry if it's, I mean, make sure it's something that a lot of people might like. But get a lot of them printed up so you can save, because it's, you know, it's offset or whatever, digital print, whatever. But you can get those down to like $1 for like an 8x10, and you just, this is the free print. You get this print if you order any other thing, and it's like an extra. Yeah, add-ons and upsells. Tip number 6. Prominently display your prices. So on each of your products or similar products, you want to put up prices. Now I make them pretty bold, pretty bright. These against my other prints, they stand out. People can see what the different prints cost or all the different items, and I've got these on every single item. So usually there isn't any confusion, because you don't want people to have to ask how much a particular item is. And the problem, and the reason why, is that artwork is, there's no formula for pricing artwork, and that's one of the reasons I'm making these videos to begin with, because it's so difficult to price artwork, and people can price artwork just based on skill levels, whatever. There's so many different factors that go into it. So a person that's coming to your table probably has no idea what, I mean, they may have a general idea, but for the most part, they don't really know what an item costs. So you can't really assume that because everyone else might be selling this at a whatever price, that yours might be similar or whatever. And you don't want people to have to ask, because say if it's more than they were expecting to spend, then they're kind of embarrassed, because, oh, that print, other people are selling a print that size for around, $20 or whatever. This one is $30. I don't know if I want to spend that. That's a little too much. So, you know, it's like, I asked, now I'm embarrassed because I can't really afford it. You don't have to do that. If your prices are up there, they can look and they can determine what they have the money to spend on, everything like that. Now, another thing I've seen some people do are like a menu. And this works for certain things. If you've got a lot of different products, you don't want to confuse it so much with a menu. Like, unless, you know, if you have say 5 different items, and they're very different from one another. Say if you've got a prints, you've got plushies, you've got buttons, you've got trading cards, all very different items, then you can put a menu, plushies this, you know, prints this, that. But if you've got different size prints and all that, because people don't really know. You say large, what's a large? If you've got 3 different size prints up here, maybe somebody doesn't see the other one, they don't know what's small, medium, or large. It's just like when you go to a fast food joint and you order, say you order a medium, or you mean a regular. I mean, people have different terms for all this different things. So you don't want large, medium, you don't want to say that. Now of course, like I showed you, my prints do say large prints and everything, but I put these right right next to the prints and everything. So if you just got one central menu and you got all these different prints, probably isn't a good idea, but it can work in certain situations like I explained. So, but whatever the case, you want your prices to be out there. You want people to know, what they're going to be paying for, just, you don't want any confusion. You don't want people to have to ask. You don't want people to haggle. Haggling is not a good thing at a show. You want to have your prices, and you want to kind of stick to those prices unless we're talking like before where there's add-ons and things like that. But you don't want to cut prices and go down and things like that. So prominently display all your prices. Tip number 7 is don't feature artwork on items that are priced differently. Now, people may love your artwork. There may be a piece that they're really interested in and they want to get it, but they don't always care what it's on. They just like the artwork and they just want the artwork. So if you've got a rather large print and then you've got a smaller print that's a lot less money, they're probably going to opt for that smaller print most of the time. I mean, there are exceptions. Sometimes they've got a wall that they just need to fill, and they may. But for the most part, they just want that artwork. They don't care what size it is. And if you've got it on 2 or 3 different size products, if you got a big print and a postcard, I'll buy the postcard. It's only $5. Then your big print is just sitting up there collecting dust. All right. So when I am trying to come up with print designs or whatever, I always consider what size is this going to go to. For instance, so I do have smaller prints. These aren't available in large prints. These were specifically designed to be smaller prints because they're in a series. And I figure that, some people may want to buy the entire series, and at a larger size prints, that's kind of difficult. It gets more expensive. So it just seemed natural. So that was one of the determining factors of making these particular prints smaller. So this is a series I have called Retroventions, and it's just inventions that can't really work. You've got, a cross between a portable Game Boy and an old Atari. Here's another one that's a Viewmaster and a Polaroid camera, or like a portable LP player, 45 player. So these are a series, and I just figured that this would work well as a smaller print. So going into it, I knew that was going to be a smaller print, and that's what it is. That's what you get it as. So everything is what it is. What you see is what you get. Because I've had people come up to me, and they like a big print, and they ask if I have it in a smaller print. And I'm like, no, I don't really have that. And then they're like, oh, well, you should get that. And then they walk off, and I'm kind of like, I don't say this, but I'm thinking to myself, no, I shouldn't, because then my other print is just unsellable, my larger print. So yeah, you really don't want to do that. For instance, so I've got these are some postcards. This is my Rocket Surgery Institute print, this big print right here that you can see. These are some postcards. I don't bring these to the show. These are specifically, I mail these cards out to drum up freelance client work and things like that. I don't bring these to the show because if somebody, and this might even be like a free item. So especially if somebody can get something for free, why would they pay for like a larger print? So I don't bring these to the show. These are strictly for promotional purposes. I bring other postcards, but these aren't any kind of print that you would see. These are just that I hand out, and if somebody wants something, it's got all my information, all my various social networks that you can follow me on. But yeah, so really you don't want to you don't want to have different price items. Now there are certain exceptions to the rule. Here's one in particular. So if you've priced printing like larger artwork, you'll notice that once you get beyond this size, I think this is 12 by 18, or some people they get like 11 by 17 or whatever. Once you get past that, the larger prints, they jump in price. And I don't know if it's just because most printers print at this size, and anything beyond that they need a special printer for. I'm guessing that's the reason. But it doesn't grow incrementally, sorry. Once you go past this, it jumps. It jumps for like $10, $15, $20 from the next size print up. So what some people do is they will print these big giant posters of the same print. So if I've got this, all right, and I sell this for $20, then I've got my other print up here that's like 2 or 3 times the size or whatever. It most people aren't gonna maybe not have the wall space or whatever to buy something that big, but they might. You don't know, and it's a good showcase for this smaller print. All right, and the thing is, because the prices jump up for printing, I might, no matter what size it is, I might make, say if I make $15 off of this, I probably only make $15 off of that big one too. So it doesn't really matter which one they buy. And the good thing is, if you've got this print, it's the same line of thinking to what I was saying before. Why would they pay for the big one when they can get the smaller? So if they see the bigger print, okay, and you would probably only print one of each of these bigger prints, depending on how many prints you sell. I don't know. That's kind of, you have to figure that out for yourself. But if they see the big print, they go, "Ooh, that's cool, but it's kind of pricey. I'll go down. I'll get this one for 20 bucks." It makes this one a little more, a little more something that a little more realistic, I guess. So, and again, it doesn't matter because I'm not making any more or any less from these two different size prints, and it helps to kind of market this. So there are certain situations, but it's basically, it comes down to, how much are you earning from each product. So if I've also got, where is that? So I've got my Rocket Surgery Institute bags. It's the same. It's not exactly the same design. It's maybe not the best demonstration of what I'm talking about here. But if you have, say if you've got something for $20, you've got another item that's maybe not a print but has the same design on it that's also $20. If that item costs this, if you're making the same profit margin, that's cool. You can do that. But you don't want to sell this and then have something like this where somebody can come up and either get this for free or $5 or whatever. So yeah, don't feature the same artwork on differently priced items. Tip number 8, sell something that no one else has. Now, of course, when I go to show, I bring all the staples. I've got prints, I've got buttons, I've got, whether it's t-shirts or all these different things that you would see everywhere else. That's cool. That's what people come to expect, and they'll sell, and people are familiar with it, and that's great. But you also want to have items that no one else has. And the reason why is because with all these other things, whether it's a print or a t-shirt, there's a perceived value around that. People know what a t-shirt costs, all right? It's usually around $10 to $25 at the most. You can't really, you're not really going to sell it for much more than that. A prints are usually, whatever most prints go for. There's some variations, but for the most part, there's a perceived value of what something like that costs because they see it all around. If you're selling something that's no one else is really selling, you can, for the most part, create your own price. You're not going to have somebody say, "Oh, I can get that over there for this amount," if no one else is selling it. So, for instance, let's see. So I've got, there we go. Now this might not be this might not be the best example. So other people might be selling trading cards or whatever. But I've got a series of mix and match monster cards. You mix them up, you can make different creatures and everything with them. Not a lot of other people are selling these, and so it's really, you never had anyone ask, "Oh, that's too much. I don't, I can get these somewhere else." It's really not, that's really not a factor because they don't see that everywhere. And then I've also got, like, for instance, I've got my little lab products. I've got, the slime, or we call it the glob, that comes with the little mini print, comes in the gift box. All these type of custom items, things that you're not going to see everywhere else, you can charge kind of what you want for it. Original, like sculptures and things like that. Anything that you can sell that's going to set you apart, that's going to be something that not everyone else has, it's always a good idea to bring something like that to a show. So sell something no one else has. Number 9, sell the sizzle, not the steak. So if you know me, or if you've seen any of these videos, or if you've seen my booth, if you've seen the way I roll out a show, you'll know that I'm pretty much all about presentation. The way I present things is a big part of my branding. It's what I do. I try to tie everything into the whole mad scientist type vibe. All right. So this one is going to kind of piggyback on the last one, whereas selling something that not everyone else has. But what you can do is you can sell the same item, but just present it differently. You can add to something to add extra value to that. All right. So for instance, go back 20 years ago. Okay. If back then I would have been probably too young for this, or maybe not. I'm showing my age, but there used to be the only vodka you would find on the shelf is vodka, flavored vodka. Now they've got all different kinds of vodka or whatever, and then they've got designer vodka. All right. Now the thing is, the only difference between those designer vodkas, the expensive vodka and the cheaper vodka, is the bottle that it comes in. That's the way it's being presented. It's the same, pretty much the same product. There's, for the most part, there's not like a different process. It's not better ingredients. It's the same thing, just packaged differently. And people will buy it because it's unique. It's, you know, it's cool. It's unlike the other things. And now, you know, you've got a whole shelf of all these different vodkas, different flavors and things like that. And it's really the same thing, but it's presented in such a way. So you think about that when you're selling your products. For instance, I saw this really cool idea, and it's like one of those things like, boom, I wish I had thought of that. But there was a company, I wish I could remember what it was. It was something House. I think it was the guy who originally started Funko, and you can leave, if you know what I'm talking about, you can leave it in the comments because I want to try to remember. But I watched a video, and he's got a new company where he's selling, you know, t-shirts and things. And like I said before, t-shirts you can only sell for, there's a certain price for a t-shirt. And these are, I guess, licensed t-shirts and everything. So he has a license to sell like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So he's got this one exclusive t-shirt. Now, especially when you're dealing with all these different t-shirt companies, a lot of them are like knockoffs or parodies or whatever. How do you sell a licensed product like that and charge more for it? And I don't know what he's charging, but I imagine there has to be a premium on it because the way he's presenting it, he's actually printed up pizza boxes with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles logo and artwork on it, because you know how Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles love pizza, and that is the box that the t-shirt comes in. So he's taking an average product you see everywhere else, but he's presenting it in a different kind of way, all right? So for instance, one of my products, just what I showed you before, so I've got these lab products, all right? So this is this is the print that comes with it. So this is Attack of the 50-Foot Brain. So I sell these little brains that grow with water. This is the brain here, okay? There's really nothing to this. This is something you might buy in a bubblegum machine for, well, 50 cents or something like that, all right? But I've added an experience to it. I've created the packaging around it. I've got descriptions. I've got, you know, there's you know, funny content here you can read and everything. It comes in a case, okay? It's got my logo, my branding around it. It comes with the free print. It comes in a nice gift box. All this stuff like that adds to the experience. I'm selling the sizzle. I'm not selling the steak, which is the little brain all by itself, which I could sell for maybe $1, all right? I'm selling all this stuff together as a package, as an experience, something that somebody can actually, there's a story behind it, all right? I've taken a little novelty product, a growing brain, and I've added this movie poster that has a story behind it. And this is a series, you know, I've got Planet of the Space Slugs. I already showed you the other one with the glowing glob. Here's another packaging. These are my, you know, these are my space slugs. Again, everything, it all ties into it. So these little items that are really nothing by themselves, I bring it in and I create an experience around it, and that way selling the sizzle, not just the steak, and you know, and these do well. I sell a lot of these things. It's not something that everyone else has. It's just kind of like with the, you know, if you're familiar with like Loot Crate or Nerdbox or these type of, there's so many of them nowadays. That whole unboxing experience, people like that, you know. It's not always, they don't even know what they're getting when they buy it. They're buying for the experience. They're buying for the packaging. They're buying for the unboxing. You see the unboxing videos all over the place. It's all that together. You're selling this experience. So yeah, that's number 9. Sell the sizzle, not the steak. All right, now with number 10, this one may stir up some controversy. Not everyone might agree with me, but there's something I really believe in, and I really think everyone should practice this. But so number 10 is don't slash your prices and don't undercut your work. All right. Now, if you go to a show, there's something that some people do towards the end of the show, like if it's a 3-day show. When Sunday rolls around, towards the end of Sunday, they start slashing all their prices and everything, and they're just basically trying to get rid of things so they don't have to take it back, say if they're traveling or whatever. I don't like to practice that. For one, because I know that I can sell that. You never know what's going to sell. Just because an item really didn't sell at one show doesn't mean it's not going to sell somewhere else. Doesn't mean it's not going to sell online. Doesn't mean it's not going to sell at another show. All shows are different. So just because something isn't a big seller, I know maybe you don't want to lug this back or whatever, but really what you want to think of it in terms that if you don't want to get people in the habit of waiting till Sunday. They're like, oh, and some people are like that. Some people, they do come around and say, do you have anything discounted or whatever? And I'm like, no, I don't really. But if more and more people do this, where they're slashing the prices down at the end of Sunday, that's what people are going to come to expect, and they're not going to buy anything in those other days. So usually, like, Saturday is your good day. If people aren't going to buy it because they're waiting to still see if you have it Sunday, that's not good. So it's really, I think it's really hurting you. It's going to hurt other people if more people start doing this. Now, again, there's a lot of people who do this, and not everyone might agree with me. And if you don't, leave a comment and let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that. But yeah, it's not a practice that I would like to do. And the other thing is, it's not fair to the people. If somebody went and bought your print for $25 and then you slash it down to $10 at the end of the show or whatever, how does that make that person feel that paid 25 for something that other people are getting for 10? So it's not. Yeah, I really don't do that. And really, I don't like the whole idea of just trying to sell things based on volume or whatever. Again, a lot of people may disagree with me, but some people maybe make a dollar off of every print because they can sell a lot more prints and they add it up and somehow that works for them. To me, that cheapens your artwork. If you're selling your artwork at such low prices, it really attaches a negative value to your artwork. Oh, this artwork's cheap. It doesn't cost, I can buy this for way less than that, and it's really not worth much because he or she or whoever is selling it for just these bargain prices or whatever. So you don't really want to devalue your artwork like that. Plus, it really is going to hurt everyone if people are just selling these big giant prints for what, $5 or whatever, or $7 or yeah. So that's my opinion on that. You can agree with me or not, but yeah, don't slash your prices, don't undercut your work. All right, and those are basically all the tips I have. Now, maybe I left something out. Maybe there's something that you have that, like, why didn't you talk about this? I don't know. Let me know in the comment sections. Maybe I'll bring it up on another show. I love to interact with people who leave messages and everything. So yeah, that's the end of another show. Please, if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to this channel. Also and I've got some stuff over here if you want to check out some other videos like the one I talked about before, where I went in more with selling, whatever. Here's some other videos, pro versus con videos. Also, I have drawing videos. I've got my updates on my comics, all types of things on this channel. So thank you for checking it out, and I'll be back later with some more tips. If you have anything a topic that you want me to talk about on pro versus con, please let me know. But until then, that is all.